This hangout is on the air live. This week on the Virtual Skeptics, Bob goes quote mining. Eve is wrestling a lake serpent. And Tim can't seem to be on the same screen as me. So he's not here. I'm your host, Brian Gregory. And Kanye West is not a dick. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
On what planet?
Yeah. Could you present your evidence for that?
This is Virtual Skeptics, another one of our things we're doing, and the music's still playing, so I guess it's good. Bye-bye, music. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay. No, stop. Thank you. Jeesh. It's rebelling for me. It's almost like I've been gone, and they don't recognize me anymore. All the machines are rebelling.
What was your name again?
I'm just call me that guy. That guy who's
With the hat, you know, and the beard.
the show. We're doing a show. This is a show thing. It's called the Virtual Skeptics. You guys are watching? Yay! If you're
not
like
watching, screw you.
Shh, hush. I have enough problem with machines. If you're watching and you want to say something snarky or ask a question, we prefer questions. But you know, snarky's funny, and that means that's good too. You can tweet it on the Twitters with, I skipped a whole bunch of stuff. I'm out of practice. So Twitter, Virtual Skeptics hashtag, or comment on the YouTube, or you can ask a Q&A on the Q&A with a Q&A. And there's this really funky audience app, which I don't, just do whatever you have to do with that. But I'm not here alone, and that's what I skipped. I'm here with two people. I'm glad I'm not alone because I hate being alone. First up, we have Bob Blasko, CSI's Conspiracy Guy web columnist, blogger, Skeptical Humanities, and Swift blog contributor, and he's smiling.
I'm compensating for my lack of the lower third banner.
I think you're definitely compensating. And next up, we have Eve Siebert, editor and blogger at Skeptical Humanities and contributor to Skepticality. Hi.
That's it, Brian. You're on my list now.
I'm on your list.
You were just getting by, but now you're on the list.
Oh, jeez. I'm on the list. So, we got a bunch of things we do first. I already did the other thing, so I'm going to do this thing. Let's see. We do a trivia question here. You guys want to hear a trivia question?
Ooh, please.
Okay. I'm going to read it because Tim decided he didn't feel like doing it this week. So,
Slacker.
Slacker. Let's see. What? Ready for it? What U.S. federal agency of interest to skeptics? Of course, everything here is of interest to skeptics. What U.S. federal agency of interest to skeptics turns 100 years old on September 26th? So in exactly 9
James
days.
Randi.
No, he's not quite 100 yet, and he's not of himself a federal agency.
And I believe Canadian.
That's true.
Damn! Like, as wrong as possible.
Okay, the secondary quiz for all those who are playing at home is there are two monitors behind me. If you can guess what is on those two monitors, and tweet them or post them or whatever, you get, I don't know, something. We'll think of something. Something virtual. Something not real.
Admiration.
Admiration. Well, that's real. Yes, our admiration is a real thing. We got a quick question come in, because someone is like jumping the gun, and I have to mention this. Ben Bradley asks, "Is this your first threesome?" And I don't think so. I don't think this is the first time we've only had a skeleton crew. What do you think, Bob? Did we do a skeleton crew show?
At some point, I'm sure we have.
Yeah, and it was the best show ever.
Yeah.
So, this is going to be awesome. And I get to go first, so that's why I think it's awesome. So, there you go. I got to look at my thing here. That's right. That's right, the music is going. That means I got to do my robots. You guys have been probably getting, you guys have missed the robots, because you haven't had robots in 3 weeks. So, I'm going to do some neat stuff.
We've been lulled into a false sense of non-apocalypse security.
Well, I can't have that.
Yeah.
So, first up, I'm going to play a video, and you guys probably think you've seen this before. but you have not. You have probably seen a number of quadruped robots that Boston. Is it Boston Dynamics?
Mm-hmm. Used to be, right?
I keep getting confused with Massive Dynamic, which is from the show Fringe. Not really a relationship there. But this is a group at MIT that's doing similar research, although, and they've developed a quadruped robot, and yes, they're talking about it, which you can't hear. But check it out. It's running and jumping. Isn't that cool? Just like the other ones we saw, except for this one. If you look at it in the video coming up shortly, it's hobbling around outside and running without any wires attached on their first go. The engineering on this one is a little different. All the Boston Dynamic ones run off of a
12-year-old
gasoline power. Yeah, look at that. There it goes. It runs off a gasoline engine. The Boston Dynamic ones run off a gasoline engine and use hydraulics for their actuation. So they move their legs by pressurized fluid, which is what hydraulics is. But they require a great big engine to power that, some kind of compressor. And it makes the robots, as they come up behind you trying to kill you, sound like a swarm of bees.
Right.
A large, massive swarm of bees. This guy is powered off of electrical motors, which they thought they wouldn't. They thought it wouldn't. They couldn't get them.
I thought you're talking about the researcher.
No, I'm not talking about the
This guy.
This guy's got electric motors in his head. No, no. This robot, the thing you're watching running on the treadmill right now, is electrical powered motors, which I didn't think they could get the right power to weight ratio to get this to work. So, but they figured out a way to do it, and it runs. It makes some clicking noises, but they're very quiet clicking noises. So it can prance around, running at a projected. Yeah, there it goes. There's a sight view. It's projected to run up to 30 miles per hour. I don't think they've gotten up to that speed yet, but to give you an idea. The world record is it 100 meter dash? I had it in front of me a second ago. The fastest sprint time of a human is somewhere around 23, 25 miles per hour. And someone like me, who's an average, I'm not really that fast on a bike. I can probably going down a hill and push it really hard and get up maybe close to that, but not for very long.
Real cheetahs,
yeah,
still better though.
Real cheetahs still better, although I don't think this robot's going to be chasing cheetahs, which is my '80s girl band. Chasing cheetahs. So next up, I got another quick video.
Look at its little head. Did you see that on the other one?
What? You want to see the little head?
Yeah, it has this like little.
Yeah, that's where the camera was that we're looking out of.
Little.
So that's right. The other one didn't have a head, did it?
Yeah, this is it's almost exactly like a cat.
Yeah, it's easier for this one to hate because it has a head.
Yeah.
Although, if you look really closely on his back hindquarter, there's that telltale big red button safety system on the back. You see that? There's like a yellow bar with a big button on it. Yeah, those are industrial safety buttons. We put them on all the robots. When you stop seeing them on the robots, that's when you have to worry about them actually killing you. There you go.
All right.
So there you go. Next one is a NASA-related story. This guy is really happy to see us.
Hooray!
Yay!
Fucked up.
This is
Eve, language.
Yeah.
No, what the fuck?
Shit.
And I won't let you see the commercial. Let the commercial play. Yeah, this is Robonaut 2. This has been on the space station for a while. I think this... Skip the ad. Thank you. This one you're seeing here is not the one on the station. It's
It looks like he had his legs run over by a semi.
Yeah, it's pretty odd looking. Although his legs are not designed to walk like ours are. His legs are designed to crawl around the outside of a space station. So they need these little grippers on the end that are designed to grab onto the same handholds that astronauts use. So he could walk around the outside with his legs and use his hands to do some kind of task. The idea is they're testing a potential astronaut replacement for work in space with robotics. So this is a project that's been ramping up for a very long time. They've had the torso and the head and the arms on station for a very long time. The legs actually went up in 2011. And they were installed and tested out. They've done some experiments with them. Recently, they did some upgrades to it. I think it was mainly software. And they're eventually, I mean, very, very shortly, I don't have a date yet, when they're going to start doing experiments with him floating around outside the station and doing actual work in space. But
can he
pretty
sing
cool.
Space Oddity?
Can he sing Space Oddity? I don't think he needs to. I think he should just play back, you know. But still. I think he can look like that, you know, that David Bowie facial expression.
So how dexterous are his hands then? I'm guessing that the grippers are for for mobility. What kind of work can it do?
I believe his arms are like 6-degree freedom robots, which means that actually 7. It's 7. It's 6 degrees are the 3 dimensions of translation, moving straight line, and then 3 dimensions of rotation. That's the 6 degree. The 7th is the elbow position. So you can have multiple arm solutions for the same position of the hand.
Mm-hmm.
So you could actually move your arm around something and reach it. That's like our arms have 7 degrees of freedom because we can put that elbow somewhere and still reach certain things. Although our hands are much more limited than the motors on most robots because we have range of motion limitations.
Well, will they do?
His legs are greater than that. They have 2 elbows if you look at it. So they probably have several dimensions of extra dimensions of position of the leg. Because if it's using those, this is me speculating. If it's using those for keeping itself stable, then you want to be able to have them flat against some surface you're grabbing onto, and then be able to reposition the torso to where you need to face your workspace. So these things need to be really dexterous.
Mm-hmm. What about like fine motor control?
Fine motor control.
Yeah.
I don't have any information on that. Yeah. If these
can it do origami?
Can it do origami?
Folding.
I'm not familiar with what hands they have on it. The ones that are on the legs are specific to grabbing onto handholds. So they only have 2 fingers, and they're shaped the right way so they get a good grip on a handhold, a known shape.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you have to design the hands for specific tasks, although I bet the arms on, they look like human hands. There's a good picture of it right there.
Yeah.
And the scary helmet?
That's just his face. Don't make him feel bad. He was born that way. It's a genetic. It's a manufacturing defect, I guess. No.
I am not an animal.
I am not an animal. Okay then. So that's going on the space station, which you know it supports my side theory that our invasion of robots, eventual invasion of robots, is going to come from space, with moon Nazis apparently. No, I'm kidding. Yes. Let's see. I got one more story that doesn't have any funny, cool pictures, unfortunately. This past week, there was a report that was put out by this guy named Ryan Kalo, who is an assistant professor at the University of Washington School of Law and a former research director at the Center for Internet and Society, nationally organized expert in law and emerging technology. So this guy is kind of a known expert and writer on law related to robotics, and he thinks we need a federal agency that oversees robots and law. This would be an agency, in his view, this would be a relatively small agency with some experts and some robotic experts and law experts that would deal with things like how you would write the law related to self-driving cars or drones or automated drones or other emerging technologies that are related to machines that can do things without human intervention. There's going to be a lot of new law that has to be written in this. I kind of agree. So I mean, there's already been some.
Don't you just need 3 laws?
Yes, the robots need 3 laws. We need other laws because the humans still screw things up. That's
There
what it
was
is.
there was another robot story that had to do with implementing the 3 laws, finding that it was the first law is that you can't hurt a human or allow a human to be hurt by inaction, right?
Yes.
There was they had these like little battery-sized robots on a simulated or on a little soccer field looking thing, and one area of that soccer field was set aside as a ditch, and they had a robot. They had 2 robots that were crossing the playing field, and the catcher and the rye robot or whatever it was had to intervene to stop it from going into the ditch, right? And so it would bump into it, and then it would change course and go away. So they tried, you won one robot, the catcher and the rye versus the one robot, and it worked. It was reliably, deflecting robots from going into the ditch. When they had 2, the robot just seized up and went over here. No, wait, no, over here. Oh, over here. Oh, and everybody died. So
Yes. So you have to worry. You have to. It's the I mean, if you read Asimov, it's all about the priority. You have to have the hierarchical priority of the laws. But yeah, there were some good stories in iRobot about what happens to robots when they have to weigh different aspects of those laws, and they end up doing, like, remember the one that was running around in circles on Mercury when they're doing Mercury mines? I remember this.
oh wow.
It had it set up essentially a potential between 2 of the laws, and ended up just running around in circles because it couldn't go any further, and it couldn't risk itself, but it couldn't turn away because it was commanded to obey a human.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, interesting stuff when you start thinking about that. I did not see that story. Send me that link. I don't know how I missed it.
I'll see if I can find it.
My curiosity is also in that the problem with implementing the 3 laws at this point is we don't really have any machines that understand concepts,
Right.
which are required for any kind of law at that level. You have to understand lots of different concepts that machines aren't that smart yet. They will be. Trust me. One
Many
other thing.
people aren't either.
Yeah, that's true. That's another thing.
Right.
One other thing I wanted to mention real quick, I'll put it in the show notes, is there is an interesting talk that was added to TED this week by a guy named Hugh Hare, who is his title is Bionics Designer, but he also works for MIT, and is one of the guys that's doing a lot of good research in prosthetics and exoskeletons right now. And this talk is about the latest technology in prosthetic knees, legs, and ankles. This is a new talk. There was another one, I forget the guy who did one a few years ago and had the quadriplegic in an exoskeleton suit, which was really cool. But the technology, there's a lot of stuff going on in this right now, and it's a very cool talk. So if you're in that kind of thing, go check it out. Okay. I don't see any questions. I see some comments. Let's see here. There's one. Why only 2 arms? Well, this particular project, Robonaut, was because they wanted to have something that could use the same tools as a human, so they wouldn't have to build a lot of this custom stuff for an unknown platform. It would be a platform that would be very familiar or very similar to a human, so they could use human hand drills and human hand wrenches and access human tailored doors and various other things that already exist, so they don't have to re-engineer all the tools. There are other projects like our project at Goddard is all custom robotics. So the idea is to have tools that integrate into the robot itself. And our vehicle may have. I mean, some of the design hasn't been done on this yet because we don't have a real program yet. But we're going to the basic design is at least 3 arms. Because we want to be able to have, like, hold on to something while the other 2 are doing a task or something like that. But there's a lot of, this is all R&D, so.
Well, the other one is drinking a beer and smoking cigars, right?
Or
yeah, I mean, if you
elastic gargle blaster.
Yeah, well, well, you're not going to be able to do much if you have one of those. But yeah, I mean, how else is he going to, I don't know, how is he going to put his hand in his pants while he's drinking his beer? Never mind. I was looking for a joke, couldn't find one. I guess
you went rummaging through a robot's pants for that joke, and you still couldn't find it.
Who's up next? I think Bob's up next. I don't even know what you're doing because I was too busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to talk about this week?
Well, this week there was an interesting development, a rather depressing one. A press release came out in the UK that from the Professional Standards Authority. I'll just read a section from it. The Society for Homeopaths Voluntary Register has been accredited under a new scheme set up by the Department of Health and administered by an independent body, the Professional Standards Authority for Health and Social Care, which is accountable to Parliament. Patients and the public can have confidence in the Society of Homeopaths Voluntary Register, which has been vetted and approved by the Professional Standards Authority. Practitioners on the Society of Homeopaths Register will be able to display the Accredited Voluntary Register, AVR, quality mark. If you could bring up the first image.
Yeah.
Yeah. A sign that they belong to a register which meets the Professional Standards Authority's robust standards. That seems to be poorly written, but I copied and pasted that. Their standards robust standard. Okay.
That's what it says.
Yeah, so basically homeopathy is getting a stamp of approval in the UK as an accredited self-regulating industry now, or at least this industry professional group is now able to set standards for its homeopaths, homeopathic standards even.
I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, that means none and therefore very powerful. But if you look, the decision makes a mockery of the PSA standards. For instance, Standard 6, the organization demonstrates that there's a defined knowledge base underpinning the health and social care occupations covered by its register, or alternatively, how it is actively developing one. The organization makes the defined knowledge base or its development explicit to the public. This is a standard that I think all of the voluntary registers have to adhere to. And then there was this next little statement which elaborates on Standard 6 in the case of the homeopaths, and it says, quote, "The Professional Standards Authority recognizes that not all disciplines are underpinned by evidence of proven therapeutic value. Some disciplines are subject to controlled randomized trials. Others are based on qualitative evidence. Some rely on anecdotes. Nevertheless," don't read that last sentence, "nevertheless, these disciplines are legal and the public choose to use them. The authority requires organizations to make the knowledge base and its development clear to the public so they can make informed decisions." Right. For registrants, one of the rules is that they have to base their standards of competence upon its defined body of knowledge, which actually, or its developing body of knowledge, which I'm not exactly sure how that would work out. So Andy Lewis of Quackometer noted, he quoted the panel's ruling on the question of efficacy. Quote, the panel noted that questions of efficacy are outside the remit of the AVR scheme. The panel noted that the Society affirmed its commitment to public protection through its policies and activities, providing for the public to be safer through seeing a Society registrant than seeing a practitioner who did not sign up to its standards. To which Lewis retorts pretty classically, I think, quote, "The idea that you can tell pseudoscience by examining, quote, questions of efficacy is a serious misunderstanding of pseudoscience. Standard medical treatments may not be effective in clinical trials to help resolve such questions, but homeopathy is based on nonsense. Clinical trials do not add to our understanding that magic cannot work. We can reject homeopathy simply by examining its basic claims. The Civil Aviation Authority will not wait to see if an alleged flying carpet can gain an airworthiness certificate before rejecting it for public transport operations," which I loved. I love that line.
Yes.
He further makes the point that if the PSA can rubber stamp homeopathy accreditation, they can rubber stamp anything. And it turns out they have. Among the groups they've accredited include, bring up the first one.
Okay.
The British Acupuncture Council.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I can see actually you can make acupuncture safer, I guess, like instead of reusing needles or whatever. But so the British Acupuncture Council, okay, may not work, but whatever.
Or homeopathic acupuncture, so you don't actually have to use needles at all.
Very good, Eve. There's a niche market for you.
Yep.
So, and the next one, the National Hypnotherapy Society, who offers treatments, and I went through their webpage, like linked from the PSA site. So if you could go to their webpage, they help you find people who will treat you for, next image,
Okay.
emotional issues, healthy eating, hypnoband, weight loss.
Hypnoband.
Instead of a gastric bypass, what's that band called? I forget what it's called.
Hypnoband.
Lap band.
Is that?
Huh?
Lap band.
Lap band. Hypnoband.
Hypnoband. I was thinking Hypnoband was like a band of toads from the future.
Yes. Also, irritable bowel syndrome. I would very much like to alert Reese Mork into this. And immune system support, which is a meaningless phrase, basically.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Also,
And job interviews.
Job interviews, and also you can hypnotize away your sexuality and gender issues. LGBT and what's GSD? That was new.
GSD.
GSD. I feel like I should know this.
No.
Thinking.
Let me look that one up.
Yeah. So.
So you can hypnotherapy your gender away entirely.
GSD stands for German Shepherd. No, that's wrong.
German Shepherd dog.
That's the first thing that came up on Google.
So,
No, that's
Gender.
Gender and sexual diversities.
So
if you're, apparently you can hypnotize them and correct whatever deviancy they have, I guess. Or
yeah.
Whatever derogatory way they want to say it.
Yeah, that seems a little.
It says, yeah, it seems pretty close to, yeah.
Those horrifying fundamentalist
Pray
camps.
the gay away.
Yeah.
Yeah, pray the gay away.
Yeah.
Simon Singh chimed in. He's the chairman of the Good Thinking Society and co-author of Trick or Treatment, and friend to small children everywhere with awesome hair.
Yeah.
He said that few consumers would might assume that homeopathy had been given official backing. Quote, the PSA's decision gives undeserved credibility to one of the highest forms of quackery known to mankind. It is a slap in the face to serious health.
Quackery is better than low quackery.
I guess so. It's a slap in the face to serious health professionals who come under the PSA's umbrella, and more seriously, it will encourage patients to make potentially dangerous decisions by steering them toward clueless quacks. Yeah. So, strong stuff.
It's nice that he doesn't hold back anymore because he's not worried.
Okay, he knows he doesn't have to worry about it.
He's like, I'm going to say whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, so, yeah, what did I say? Oh, there was a really interesting Twitter, when I was going through this, I'd seen things on Twitter, people were making jokes that followed a certain formula. So Harry Caton, chief executive of the authority, acknowledged that many medical professionals, this is coming from the Times, believed that homeopathy was useless. Quote, it's a matter of opinion. The people who use homeopathy have an opinion. What we're saying is if you choose homeopathy, you probably want to have a homeopath who is competent within the rules of homeopathy. And that led to a number of funny analogies, and I challenge you to come up with good analogies in the Twitter feed.
I was going to compare it to clown school, but I don't want to insult clowns.
There you go. right?
Well, and compared to mime school,
Yes.
Yes.
Which we don't have a problem with insulting mimes. No.
a mime is not a terrible thing to waste.
Yep. And I believe that's everything I have. Is there another
Nope,
slide?
no more slides.
No more slides.
No slides.
So basically, one of the other things that I had captured for the show was a map of homeopaths in the UK, and you can see that they cluster around London and then become less, as you get farther away, until you get to Scotland, which is apparently a rather sensible place. And I'm not, saying anything or saying that policy should be determined by the distribution of homeopaths, but get out, Scotland, get out.
Yes, I think it's that no one can tell the Scottish what they want, what to do. They won't take it. So, but I guess that's probably not a very PC thing to say too. I don't know. I've watched too much Doctor Who.
That's right.
So in Great Britain, the frauds certify the other frauds. That's Bill Hunsicker on Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah, that's more of a comment than a question, but yeah, it looks that way. I don't see any more questions. Anybody get something I missed? You have anything to add, Bob?
Not particularly.
No?
That's about the sum of it. The foxes are guarding the hen house.
Yeah, it sounds that way. As opposed to, well, I guess would you compare that to the way it is in this country, where there really is no oversight at all for things that don't make specific.
Until you're hurt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have restrictions on how you can market stuff like that? I mean, can they actually make claims on advocacy claims or health claims or the kind of things that you're not supposed to do for non-medical certified stuff in this country, non-FDA?
I believe that there are restrictions.
If they claim to cure cancer,
that sort of thing. There's like
it's a big thing in Britain.
Yeah. So, potentially.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not freewheeling, but still, when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about the different attempts to like license not just medical natural medicine type practitioners and stuff, but license spiritualists and palm readers and things like that. That's happened, which it seems similar in its. It does more to legitimize the practice than to actually
really
protect anybody. Yeah.
It's kind of like having certifying crooks.
Yeah. In the case of like homeopathy, where it's mostly harmless unless they do something wrong, they don't follow.
Or unless, well, the thing is, you still pay. That is risk.
Well, I mean, health. It's not a health risk if it's regulated, but it's still a fraud.
If you're doing a cost-benefit analysis, there's nothing but cost there, right? And the other thing is that if you let's say decide you go to see a homeopath for that pain in your stomach, and it turns out to be an alien laid down your throat or whatever, you've wasted time and it could be bursting out. And
I think Brian's saying that there is not a sort of direct physical harm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, it's the kind of harm that's hard to explain to someone who doesn't get it.
Right.
Yeah. The reason why Tim does his website, what'stheharm.net, which I just plugged.
I hear that's great.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Okay, up next, Eve's going to talk about wrestling a lake serpent. Do you have video?
No, I just took a still of it.
Okay.
But if people haven't seen it by now. Anyway, because it's a viral video from several years ago.
Oh, so is it?
Back in early 2012, our younger viewers, you might want to ask your parents about this. a grainy video appeared that seemed to show an aquatic serpent doing its serpentine thing in a glacial river in Iceland. And I do have a still from the video. So, yeah. It was reputed to be the legendary, Lagerfljótswurmur, even though it wasn't actually in the lake proper, but rather in the river. The legend of Lagerfljótwurm, as I'm now going to call it, it's supposed to go back to 1345. According to Svein, I'm not very good with double N's in Icelandic, so I'm going to call him Svein Birker Bjornsson, the folktale goes a little something like this. A young girl was given a ring. On the advice of her mother, she put the ring in a chest under a small worm or snake or serpent, you know, as you do, so that the gold would grow as the worm grew. However, when the girl checked back again, the worm had grown to alarming proportions. So she threw the chest, the worm, and the ring into the lake, because freaking huge worm. But unfortunately, the worm continued to prosper in the glacial water, as serpents so often do, and continued to grow. And then it began to terrorize the locals, and there were killings and things. So what do you do when you're being terrorized by a lake monster, worm, serpent, dragon thingy?
Throw it in a volcano.
No. Obviously what you do...
Keep it as a pet.
You don't know these things, Bob. You consult with the nearest Finns, which unfortunately often involves having to send off to Finland, which a bit of a schlep, really, until comparatively recently. Specifically, these were apparently Sami shamans. So that would have been up at the top of Finland.
Sami shamans?
Yes. As
Sami shamans.
They were known.
Yes.
So is magic, and battled the worm. Shut up, Bob. They weren't actually able to kill it, but they did tie its tail and head to the bottom of the lake, and said it would remain there, unable to hurt anyone until the end of time. Now, this story has a fair amount in common with particularly other Germanic dragon or serpent stories. Germanic dragons are known for their love of treasure. Perhaps best known as the dragon in Beowulf, which is sitting on a huge treasure. And it becomes enraged by the theft of a single cup. But there's also Fafnir. So they love treasure. And there's a similarity also to Jormungandr, a.k.a. Midgardsormr, the world serpent.
Oh, that one.
Which formerly lay at the bottom, back when the world was shaped a little differently than it is now. It lay at the bottom of the singular ocean that surrounded the world, and it was so large that its tail was in its mouth. It was never bound, but its brother...
That snake?
Yeah, that snake. Its brother Fenrir, the wolf, was bound, and its father Loki was bound. And they only became unbound at the end of, basically, the end of the world. Thor tangled with that worm a couple times. And then during the Norse apocalypse, Ragnarok, Thor kills the world serpent, but then dies from its poisonous breath. So there are some similarities there with this lake worm. There have been a number of sightings of the Lagerfljótwurm over the years, including comparatively recently. But the video brought it to wide attention. And it keeps popping up. You know, it's been out of the news for years, and then there it is again, getting popular and being tweeted and so on. When the video first appeared, Ben Radford wrote an article for Life Science about it, in which he cited the analysis of Misa McEwen, who would have thunk it, is a Finn, possibly with some Scots in there. I'm not sure if she's a Sami shaman, but a Finn. And she found that although the object appears to move in a serpentine manner, there's no actual forward progression, that is just an optical illusion.
It could be treading water, Eve.
No, it couldn't. It looks like it's moving forward, but it actually isn't. So she concluded that it's something, possibly a fishing net, that's caught on a branch, although Iceland is not known for its large quantities of trees, so possibly a rock or something. But, you know, so what? Despite this, a majority of a 13-member Truth Commission, which was established in 2012 by Bob's beard hurts him, apparently, by the Fljótsdalshérað.
You know, we have truth commissions for things like institutional racism that goes on for generations. Okay, like
yeah. Anyway.
Sorry.
The local municipal council, and it concluded just recently that the worm exists, and that the video shows it. They found that the video shot by Hjörtur E. Kjærulf is authentic, and that Hjörtur is entitled to a prize of 500,000, which sounds more impressive than $4,300. But still, $4,300. That prize was offered for evidence of the worm's existence. A prize established in 1997 by a former mayor of Østfold, which is the eastern province. Hjörtur was also awarded 50,000 Icelandic kroner from a local tourism cooperative for promoting the region as a tourist destination. So, the question is, what the hell is wrong with the people of Iceland?
Right.
They believe in this worm, they believe in elves, all sorts of things.
I think it's the outgassing.
Part of it.
The outgassing from the poisonous
volcanoes.
Poisonous volcanoes, yes.
Bob,
Eve is not amused.
A nova. Part of it probably has to do with tourism. Again, the videographer won tourism board or tourism cooperative. Iceland's economy took a major hit a few years ago, huge hit a few years ago with a banking collapse. And tourism is a huge industry for Iceland. But I think another part of the explanation is that Iceland is just we've talked before about how...
Well, I'm having a hard time hearing you. You seem to be breaking up a little.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Sorry. Iceland is kind of weird. I've talked before about Icelandic elf belief. Polls show that a majority of Icelanders believe in elves. Now, to some extent, the elves are equated with the environment. So protests against building projects that have potential negative environmental impact end up getting a lot more attention if you happen to say, hey, it's an elf habitat. Instead of just local Icelandic news paying attention, then you have the world's news going, look at these eccentric Icelanders. Plus, many of the believers seem to be people who choose not to disbelieve in elves. But still, there are a significant number of Icelanders who fervently believe in elves. And I've talked about this before, Iceland is also littered with the bodies of trolls who turn to stone in the sunlight, and there are remnants of troll battles, supposedly. Some spoiler face geologists go volcanic rock, but whatever. Also, Icelanders eat rotten shark on purpose.
It's true.
Really. So what's the deal?
Wow.
Well, for one thing, Icelanders for centuries, I think, have seen, and this is sort of speculation. No, it's totally speculation. But for centuries, they've seen themselves as sort of preserving Scandinavian traditions. They took to literacy with wild abandon. The corpus of Old Norse writings is pretty vast, and most of it is Icelandic. And even when the country was desperately poor, the literacy rate was extremely high, and they just kept writing stuff down. So most of what we know or think we know about Germanic mythology, for instance, comes from Iceland. It wasn't. The one exception to that, the one major exception to that, a work by Dane, Saxo Grammaticus's Gesta Danorum, even that drew on Icelandic oral material as one of its sources. In other Germanic countries, there are only really remnants of the mythology left, not much to piece together. They've also preserved the language, the Scandinavian language. Written modern Icelandic is very, very close to Old Norse, much more so than Danish, Swedish, or Norwegian. Faroese is a little bit closer. And this is partly due to geographic isolation and, to a lesser extent, cultural isolation, but it's also partly due to sheer bloody-minded stubbornness. So Iceland, you could see, in a way, as sort of self-consciously embodying its traditions, Scandinavian traditions, and those traditions include elves and trolls and worms. So why not believe in worms? Then on top of that, Icelanders live on an island that wants to kill them. And I know Australian, although I believe our Australian contingent is not here tonight, so I can say what I want. But I know the Australians are saying, well, so are we. But, you know, with Australia, it's your fauna. At least to a certain extent, it's your fauna that want to kill you. Your spiders, snakes, crocodiles, platypuses.
Yeah, it may be more that they just happen to have a lot of them that will kill you. Not that they actually want to, but well, they want to as well. But,
all right.
Just they want to eat their babies.
But even killer fauna doesn't want to live in Iceland.
That's true.
It's been ripped apart by two tectonic plates. It lies across the mid-Atlantic ridge. It's atop a volcanic. It's got earthquakes. It's got volcanoes. It's got geysers. It's pits.
Acid death
which is all very spectacular, but
dogs and cats.
Well, those go with the volcanoes.
Mass hysteria.
And it's spectacular, but potentially deadly. There are also glaciers and avalanches. So my next slide. Just for instance, you can see
it's a great picture.
There's a glacier, there's a volcano, and there's the aurora borealis.
So
again,
fire,
very pretty.
Radiation, and freezing death, all in one scene.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then did I mention the wind? There's quite a lot
wind.
of it. Quite nice.
Oh, it's just gusting all the time. God.
And wind erosion, and then again, very, very, very few trees to keep the wind from doing whatever the hell it wants to do. So basically, Iceland in itself is pretty improbable.
It's just a gulag.
With a high standard of living.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Considering how unlikely Iceland itself is, maybe it's not that big a stretch if you live there all the time to go, well, yeah, a big serpent could live in that river.
They're clearly crazy to live there in the first place, so why judge?
Sure.
I wonder what Sam
That's
had to say about this.
Me sort of doing crude psychological analysis of an entire country. Small country.
That's done. This is done. I took the liberty of looking up Harkarl, or something like that. How do you say it?
Yeah.
Harkarl? The rotten shark stuff.
Yep.
Apparently they choose to eat it rotten because if it's fresh from the Greenland shark, it's poisonous.
Poisonous. Yep.
Yeah.
So it has to be rotten, so it doesn't.
So you have to putrefy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. There are other variations of or similar preservation methods throughout the disgusting world.
Well, and not just there are a lot of kind of unpleasant traditional foods all over the place that have to do with, before refrigeration, before effective ways of. Well, really, Iceland kind of has its own refrigeration thing happening, but so it was traditional and it made sense when.
It never made sense either.
It was reasonably rare. Of course, a recipe for household using the traditional method: A, catch shark; B, dig a hole, put shark in hole, wait 3 months, dig it up. Bon appetit.
I am all for untraditional or non-traditional preservation techniques because I take advantage of it all the time. Just saying.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
My God. All right. So now
All right.
I know all about Iceland.
Yes. Iceland is trying to kill its people, and therefore they make up lots of stories about stuff. That's cool. Very cool. Thanks for that. Thank you. That was very interesting.
Don't patronize me.
Shark. I got that shark taste in my mouth now.
Shark.
Shark. Well, let's see. That's all of our meat for tonight. Now we're gonna have to do the dessert. Let's see. We've got to do announcements. We got to do the trivia question answer, and then we do book time, or book time then trivia, right? I don't know. Tim usually does that. Let's see.
The trivia question or answer comes first.
Yes, the trivia question, which I posted on Twitter just so that people, because I didn't know if everybody caught it early in the show, and Tim usually tweets it, so I did that. To repeat the question, it was, what U.S. federal agency of interest to skeptics turns 100 years old on September 26th? And I have to say, unless I missed something, because I was looking, nobody answered.
Yeah. There were answers, but nobody got the right answer.
Yeah, there's one answer here in the Q&A. Bill.
FDA. And I did see another one.
It's not IRS.
Yeah, it's not the IRS.
Not the IRS. You guys want to know?
Please tell us.
Apparently it is the Federal Trade Commission. And I'm just going to have to take Tim's word for it because I did not research this. He just gave me the question. So there you go. The Federal Trade Commission turns 100 years old on the 26th. Ding, ding, ding.
Birthed now.
Yeah, birthed. And the two videos behind me both froze, apparently. See, they're not moving anymore. So if you got them, which nobody answered that either, I would be wondering why you broke my network security. No, on the let's see, on my left side. I saw
a super soaker in one of them.
Well, it's kind of. I mean, they're both James Burke shows. One is Connections, the second series of Connections.
Oh.
And it was episode 3, and I don't remember. I got it written down. Episode 3, Getting It Together, which, unless you know the show that well, and I don't, yeah, you wouldn't be able to recognize the episode. But you recognize James Burke because he's pretty identifiable face, right? If you know him. The other one was another show he did called The Day the Universe Changed, which is like a one-season series show, also a science-y show, which I had never watched and just kind of came across and thought was interesting. So, and I threw that up there because I wanted to do a James Burke theme, and nobody got it. So I'm sorry. Nobody gets.
So our show is a complete washout this week.
I know.
Yeah, no admiration for anyone at home.
Yes.
Yeah. We just have contempt for all of you.
Aw. We're not.
And we're sure it's mutual.
Yes, we are that mean. The clips are from Frozen. Ha ha, Travis. That was a Twitter. Let's see.
You die last.
You die. Next, I got book time, but I can do the announcements. You guys get your books?
Yep.
Okay. You get your books. 2 announcements. Tim and Bob and Eve have segments on this week's Skepticality, and the main segment is a panel from Skeptrack, which is at Dragon Con a few weeks. Was it 2 weeks back? 2 weeks back. With Barbara Drescher. So everyone from the show is on Skepticality this week, except me. Wow.
Awkward.
You're funny. You're funny. Another announcement: the new Insight blog. Have you guys heard about this Insight blog?
I've heard of it.
Blog? Yeah, it's a new blog at skeptic.com. Because I think the Skeptic blog is gone now, isn't it? This was launched last night.
It burned down in a fire.
It did?
No, it didn't.
I thought it was Skynet. So Barbara Drescher, Eve, and Tim are all involved as regular contributors, as well as several other folks you guys might know. Dan Loxton, who's a really cool guy, also does the Junior Skeptic in the Skeptic magazine. Swoopy from Skepticality. Donald Prothero, I hope I'm saying that right because I've never met him, but he writes some cool stuff. And, of course, Blake Smith from Monster Talk. Go check it out. I have high hopes for this. It should be cool.
One other announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah. The activism talk that activism panel workshop thingy at TAM just went up. I think last night or today. So that's available to see.
Okay.
There is
cool.
no link.
You have to find it yourself.
Yeah.
Google it. Don't misspell his name.
Yeah, Blaskowitz. It's spelled like it sounds.
Copy it from our website. I know you won't spell it right now. I'm kidding. I guess that's book time. Okay. Eve, go ahead, do your book because I've got to find mine. Go ahead.
The Midgard serpent, also known as Jormungand, mighty snake, was one of the three in the monstrous brood sired by Loki on Angerboda. When Odin saw the danger the three posed, he had them fetched, and he dispatched the serpent into the sea, Hel into the underground realm of the dead, and the wolf Fenrir to a cave after he had been bound, not without some inconvenience, especially for Tyr. We have the story from the Gylfaginning section of Snorri Sturluson's Edda, where he says this about the serpent. And when they came to him, he threw the serpent into the deep sea that lies around the lands, and that serpent grew so much that he lies in the middle of the ocean around all lands and bites his tail.
Oh, that Loki siring serpents. Bob, go ahead.
In his first several months in office, President Barack Obama clearly reversed some of these trends, at least at the top levels of government. His inaugural address promised to, quote, restore science to its rightful place, his appointment of widely respected scientists to head science-related agencies, his repeal of the previous administration's restrictions on stem cell research, and his vow to base decisions on the best scientific evidence rather than ideology have cheered scientists and rationalists. But unless these welcome attitudes trickle down and permeate through the general culture, which might happen only slowly at best, the problems remain.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep.
Life. I will learn everything there is about life. Information is packed into living things so tightly. The patterns are magnificently complex. A single worm has more to teach than a lifeless universe bound to the idiot forces of physics. I could exterminate 1 billion empty planets every second of every day and never be finished. But life, it is rare and strange, an anomaly. I must preserve it and wring every drop of understanding from it. I'm glad that's your goal. I too seek knowledge. Yes, says the childlike voice. And you have done well, but there is no need for your search to continue. You have accomplished your goal. The time for man is over. What's your book, Eve?
Norse Mythology, A Guide to the Gods, Heroes, Rituals, and Beliefs by John Lindau.
John, what was the name again?
Lindau.
Okay. I don't. What's your book, Bob?
Science Under Siege, edited by Kendrick Frazier.
Oh.
Prometheus Books. and available at all fine booksellers.
Cool. Interesting. Mine was a book by Daniel H. Wilson, who you might know because he wrote The Survival Guide to the Robot Apocalypse. But this was one of his first novels. Let me see, there's a camera. Robo-Apocalypse. And that was the dialogue of the first sentient machine talking about his plan to exterminate humans. So there you go. A book right up my alley. Is that it? Is that everything? No more questions? No more comments? Anything else to talk about?
I'm good.
No? No? We're good? Okay, then. There was one thing I wanted to say. Oh, you can count the F-bombs in this episode and post it on Twitter. That would be very helpful. But other than that, I am going to put the logo up and the music, and we'll dance. The Virtual Skeptics is an infant production of whatstheharm.net, Skeptical Humanities, myself, ICBS Everywhere, and Doubtful News. Our logo is designed by Sarah Mayhew at sarahmayhew.com. Our theme music is by Musicant and used with permission. Thank you for watching.